All right, we are live today. Hello, everybody. I am here with the Divine Sorcerer, Spread Paranormal. I'm Brian from the Academy. We are talking about the rite of transformation today and all the ridiculous shit that goes with, right? And so when we're doing this, Mike has been undergoing the preparations for these things. Would you talk a little bit about what you've been up to?
Just that one day or the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, yesterday, the divination today, like what it is that's been in flux with you through this opportunity. And the camera is possessed.
My camera's always possessed.
Yeah, you know.
What are you doing over there? Come back on over here with me. Yeah, see that sexy face? There you go.
Right?
Follow the sexiness there, baby. Oh, okay. All right. And so it all started with drawing these. These were the individual sigils for each gate that you're going to be opening. And with using these, okay, this is what I spent all day yesterday doing, because magic is more than just hocus pocus, your jocus kind of type thing. Yes, that's part of it, but each gate has an herb, and each herb is like a symbol to that planet. So when you incorporate that into your magic, and you do it in a way to where you make sure you boil that herb at that specific time of that planet, you're putting everything into synchronization. So that way, when you do your transformation or you do your spell, everything has come down straight to synchronicity. Like everything is in line, in order. You are channeling, like you are good to go. And so I have 7 of these here. 1 was basil, 2 was dill, 3 was sage, 4 was corn, 5 was cannabis, 6 was chamomile tea, and 7 was lemon. And I had to do them one at, I'll tell you in a minute. Bring my notes up here. I had to do one at 1 a.m., 1 at 4 a.m., 1 at 7 a.m., 1 at 10 a.m., 1 at 1 p.m., 1 at 4 p.m., and then 1 at 7 p.m. And then I did an actual just regular boiled water at 8:30 p.m. So that, according to the times, to the sigils, to the placements of the candles and the herbs and the lights and the cauldron, and yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And on the day of the transformation, which is Halloween, which is, I think, what is it, an eclipse or a full moon?
No, yesterday was the eclipse.
Yesterday was the eclipse. Okay,
yeah,
so
yesterday was the eclipse at the end of the new moon.
So then on Halloween, it'll be the new moon.
No, we just had the new moon. It's the date of Halloween. It's when the veil is the thinnest. It's the day of the other world.
Okay, which is the day I plan to take my rite of transformation, Brian, as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna redo it. It'll be fun. So yeah, yesterday, man, that stuff kicked my butt. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's like I started heating up the vessel of water at midnight, right? That's when I lit that fire, and I conjured the fire, and I let it go through its paces, and I let it go through, and it was boiling. It was steaming. It wasn't actually. It never reached a boil, because with the olive oil lamp that I was using, right? It's a nice low, gentle flame, and so by being able to do that on a nice low heat, it allowed that heat to circle through the entire day. So the whole thing remained hot and ready and receiving the spirits and the virtues of those ingredients. So once that liquid and that thing come together in that moment, in that time, the spirit starts to be released from those ingredients, right? And so then it becomes an alchemical process. And then it becomes the foundation of that alchemical process that allows us to go into the deeper applications of it, right? And I'm going to nerd out for a minute here, right? Like, so for me, it was 2 a.m. was saffron, 5 a.m. was the blue lotus, 8 a.m. was nettles, and then at 11 I had the peppermint, and then at 2 I had the plantain, and then at 5 I had thyme, and then at 8 I had slippery elm, right? And so with going through all of these different things, that is healing and opening and protections of personal growth that stimulates change for the spirit of the dead that I'm trying to connect with on Halloween, right? Like I'm trying to honor that spirit of what is to recognize and be in tandem with the living and the dead in that one day, right? Like I'm trying to tap into what is Halloween that day, right?
Yeah, nerd out.
And with what Mike is up to, the ingredients that he selected, that's for the rites of initiation, to repel negativity, to give him strength, that'll allow the banishment of all evils. He's calling upon the seed of seeds through the application of some of these things. He's calling upon the spirit of union through the cannabis plant, right? He's got the success of any endeavor brought by the chamomile plant. Like chamomile ensures success, right? Not only is it the planetary one, but it is the success of that endeavor, right? So not only is he's transforming himself, but he's ensuring himself with the success and the light, right? And then that lemon ensures that inner light. It is a boost to that inner light. Like the reason we include these things by the times and those hours and those manifestations is we're pulling on these principles, right? We know the ingredient, we know the time, and we know the significance, right? And by doing that under a consecration, right? And by continuing that consecration through and then undergoing the rite of transformation, right? And the way that you can structure these things, the way that you do these things allows for that energy to follow through in different ways, right? And I mean, like, when it comes to the entrainment of principle, right? Mike is creating a blend that he's going to be imbibing a small portion of, while he's got the same ingredients mixed into the talismans of those planets as they come up out of the books of Moses, right? That's the greater keys is the Solomon stuff right there. It's the planetary talismans, the first pentacle of each of the 7 planets, right? So those are the 7 seals. And so by cracking the 7 gates, he's able to create that outside link with the same blood relationship as what he's going to be putting with his drop of blood into that ingredient when he undergoes that rite of transformation, right? So he consumes his own blood as it unites with the outer forms. So it is the connection of the Ouroboros internally. So his body is always feeding upon the energy of heaven, always feeding upon the energy of life and getting into total synchronicities. Like this is an internal alignment that goes beyond an understanding of like outside projections for Reiki and stuff. Like you like I've done external transmissions of power with people. Like I've done it with Keith, right? I've done it with the rites of the black flame. I've done that with the stuff and the shadow magic stuffs, like connecting to the dark worlds, like the planes that exist only within conceptual reality, but also have existed since time immemorial. Like there's before light was light in the way that we understand it, right? Like right. There's all these things that this magic connects the individual to, right? When we call upon the as principle, right? When we open as to enter the house, right? We are literally calling upon the A to Z and everything in between, right? The path of devourment, that of the Akaharu, that of being able to the spiritual devourment. So when you consume an essence, you understand what that essence represents in creation, right? You're beginning to understand, you're beginning to entrain your life principles to each of the rhythms of the 7 gates, right? You're going through these transformations, these falling away of those things which no longer serve you. Those people that you've been with that don't light you up the same way, or when you're trying to share your light with them, they're not having it for whatever their failings are as them in their own journey, right? Like that's where their journey ends, right? With you. If that's where their journey ends with you, that's where their journey ends with you. But that's not what your journey is about. Your journey is about obeying the oath that you set forth to fulfill, right? To elevate those spirits, to elevate those people, and to do it with the people that you love. It's just that the people that you love don't want to do it with you when they understand who you are, right? And it's that path of knowing that they thought they knew you before you started the path of knowing who you are, right? So they have to undergo a path of knowing who they are, right? And bonds shift, relationships shift, understandings of what's the nature of all of these things are in periods of flux. And that period of flux is not always pretty. But it's how you go through it with an open heart, right? What did your tarot cards say?
Everything.
Right? They reinforced it. Like I'm gonna be posting the videos of what he shared with his tarot cards before we came live today. He showed me. And yesterday, when you were doing that the potion for the rite of transformation, right? When you were making that blend, your card specifically mentioned you're undergoing transformation. Yep. This inner catalyzation of these internal rhythms so that you force your body into this alignment so that as you go through this alignment, you understand that these things become available, right? And so that the clever magicians that are watching this will understand that if they get the Simon Necronomicon, half their work is done for them.
Yes.
Right? more than that, if they get a copy of the Grimoire of Arts, right? Then they can put the two of them together, and it's right there. Like, it's all there. The only thing that was missing from that conversation was me finding someone that I could articulate it to that I trusted enough to undergo the method. Now that I've articulated the method to Mike, and as he becomes the divine sorcerer fully, like, as we go through these kinds of conversations, and as he does these things in the community, right? We get to see what changes in the world, right? We get to see what power gets to create when it is a creative force that is non-destructive, when it is one of intentional design, when it is intentional elevation. So it might not be pretty. It might not be in the space or the time that the individual is ready to receive it. But that doesn't mean that we're not making allowances for it at some point in their journey. There's something we've done, there's something that we're going to do, or there's a place where they can go and do it themselves that will facilitate part of that discussion so that they can come together with the information at the time that they need it. So that when you go through these transformations, you're not doing it in isolation. Because an ending of your world, the way that you understand it, when you touch real magic, when you touch these raw forces, everything in your life changes. Right? When Guy did that transformation spell himself, when he was using the spiritual magic of the Goetia and stuff like that, and he was trying to do it to command women to obey and follow a certain pattern, right? I'm like, that's not how that magic works, right? And then he did the truth spell, and then he was compelled to tell the truth. Like, his whole life fell apart the way that he understood it, right? To undergo the spell of becoming a true individual, right? To know the way of perfect love, the way of perfect trust, the way of absolute trust and truth, right? Without having to hide who you are, so that, yeah, you have mistakes in your past. Yeah, you've got things that you fucked up on, but you're working at it. You are developing at it. What is that next step that you are taking? This is the next steps Mike is taking. This is the next step Sandy's got to take in her own way with Robin. Like, hopefully the two of them come together and come back to the academy and we get all these things worked out and we can all come to some collaboration where relationships that are treasured don't have to be lost. Right? Like, there are so many friends that I cannot thank enough for allowing me to be able to articulate these things in a safe environment that allows for this stuff to come out. This stuff is important, What you're going through, Mike, this is important stuff. It's sad, but it's important.
It is.
So as you go through these transformations, right, how would you say what you're going through relates to, say, for example, the mind becoming aware?
I mean,
So when you undergo the applications to go through these rituals, right, you're going through the gates as you've created them. The first gate for you is Mars, right? The gate of the mind, the inner mind coming out, the who you are, what is your mind, what is your real self coming to the forefront, right? That separation, that need for separation, that need for closure. Okay, this is over. I'm doing this new thing now, right? That's your mind coming to the forefront, giving you the power to embrace, right? What's your second gate? I'll have to get the book if I got to answer that question.
Tell you, man. Nebo, Mercury.
So you've got Mercury, your spirit. Your spirit is getting released from things that aren't going to serve you, people that don't love you, people that are, all of these things. You're getting released, right? You're becoming unburdened by that. What's the next one?
The gate of Ishtar, which is Venus.
For life. So when you're released, you get new life. And then you get into Jupiter. Right? And then from Jupiter.
The Sun.
Oh, all right. So
Venus,
it gives you illumination.
Venus and then the Sun, which is Shamash.
Okay. So it goes from Venus into the Sun. So you get your life and you get to bring it into a light so that you do find people that love you, do find people that reinforce you, do find people that elevate you. And they'll be naturally drawn to that inner light, right? It's the entire thing that what you're doing via the entrepreneurial development, being all this path that you're walking on naturally, now that you're getting into these rhythms. And then after the Sun?
The first gate was the Moon. After the Sun is Mars. That's Mars. Mars is after the Sun, not in the beginning.
So Mars comes after the Sun?
Mm-hmm.
But you see how this stuff circles around? It's constant. Like, until you figure out the patterning of this lock, right? Until you figure out how these things relate to you, you're not going to really understand the nuance and the depth of what this transformation is doing. So these become keys by which you can unfetter these locks. You can unburden yourself by understanding how these energies are playing in your life and how they're seeking correction. So if you've got one person saying this over here, you're feeling like this over here, and it's not connecting, there's a translation error in how these energies fit based upon the relationship, right? And so if it's not obeying a social construct of abject obedience, it falls outside of what is acceptable tradition. It becomes chaotic. It becomes uncertain. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, no, I don't get paid to think.
I don't get paid to think either.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. I don't get paid to smoke, but I do too. Oh, I noticed in the book you had anagram. Am I drawing an anagram or a pentagram?
You're drawing the 7-point star.
Oh, 7.7.
So I sent you that picture the other day with the 7-point star with all the degrees.
You did?
Yeah, in text messages.
Is that before or after them 30 photos that you sent me? Sorry. Just that.
I thought you had files on your computer of all these things.
Yeah, I didn't get them in there because that a couple of them nights we stayed up late and I didn't get a chance to copy them. I went to sleep and then, well, I got married.
Ah, see, all the more reason why when it's potion making day at the academy, right? Like we're up for 24 hours, right? So what are you doing while your potion is bubbling? We're going to have class time and we're going to put all of this shit into the various books so these things get fucking finished. That's what I'm going to have to do. Like, that's next steps. Like, today we're drawing this shape. Tomorrow we're drawing this shape.
Should I get my helmet and my crayons out?
I mean, isn't that like how you gonna get this stuff into your practice unless we've got like these kinds of things?
Right. Oh, I am live. Hold on, guys. Okay, there we go.
But yeah, yesterday it was fucking with me so hard. So hard. When I was making that thing.
What, that potion?
Yeah, oh yeah, man. I was having visions all day.
Dude, I couldn't function. Like, you can ask my roommate. Like, I was here, but I don't know if it's because I was so fucking tired or what, but I couldn't even wow. Like, I couldn't even sit down and wow, man. I was so fucking, yeah.
Oh yeah. Like the way that these things retrain your energy, right? It's brutal. Like nothing got done. Only the potion yesterday. Like I had my alarm set. Like I was like, there's a state where I get when I'm doing heavy ritual work where my mind just disconnects from my body and I just need to like lay down, but I'm not asleep. It's just a processing download moment where it's like, okay, here's a bunch of information. What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it moving forward? Right? What's at stake if I don't move forward with this information? And for me, that's what this rite of transformation is. Right? It's like this is the biggest ritual that I ever created when I was first doing this magic. Right? This is stuff for recreation of your body and your mind and your spirit and retraining your body to recognize the elemental energies of what exists outside. And by you having the blood magic, by you having the herbal ingredients, by you doing everything properly, setting up the candles, doing the words, doing the communion between those outside magics and these inside magics. So as you taking on this vampiric devouring ritual, right? You're literally becoming. But even your tarot cards could recognize it. Even your tarot videos were you're transforming.
Spot on, man. They didn't waste no time too. Within like the first page, it was like you're undergoing transformation. Like, who the fuck told you, man? Like, the word spreads fast. Jesus Christ.
Right? Like, this is not minor magic. Like when you make a potion properly, right? It's not just herbs in a bowl of water, right? I mean, it is like it can be, depends on the tradition, right? But when you're doing alchemical sorcery, right? Like the stuff I'm teaching here, like this is a very specific kind of scientific alignment that allows the individual to make these kinds of blends to facilitate whatever needs to be like out there.
Well, I mean, when I was making it too, I was doing like a little chant over it too. So,
Can you speak up?
I said when I was doing it, I was doing a little chant over it too. Like, so, like a little bit of kitchen witch in there.
That's it.
It's the intent you put into it, folks. that intent that's getting stored in there.
Yeah. You get that inner vibration going to the right thing. If you get to feeling it, like, it's like when you're cooking and you like start singing to the music and you're like dancing around and you're like stirring the pot and it's like, I'm stirring the pot. Yeah. It's like the way that you put that magic into what you're doing, that energy flow into what you're doing. Like, this is, if you love to cook and you do that kitchen witching, right? That's how you make it baller, right? If you've got a big stew that you're cooking, take time. Like, this is like, oh, I should do it like a sorcery chili, like cook off between like the two of us at some point, and we'll add all of the ingredients of the chili that are in the chili, but we'll line them up to the planetary hours, so we line them up like accordingly, and we make magic chili.
Who's gonna be the sucker to taste it? Because mine's gonna hurt him.
Oh man, that'd be fun.
Hell, Jimmy ate my rice and it lit him up.
Yeah, he was not a happy camper about that.
I told him it was a tad bit hot. I mean, like, I guess I've grown to the custom of the taste of the ghost pepper or something, but I told him it's just a tad bit hot. Yeah, okay, I guess it was more than just a tad bit hot.
Right. Oh, that's funny. Oh man, yeah. I don't know. Like, this stuff is hilarious. Like, undergoing these kinds of things and following through with that synchronicity, following through with that level of connective energy, right?
Right.
It's such a different life than just going to ceremony and praying at a, it's like it's you're feeling it, you're seeing it. It's all encompassing. Like, this isn't something that you can just do on a weekend, folks. It's not just like, oh hey, I'm going to light a candle today and I'm going to be a witch. No, motherfuckers. Like, if this is the eventual path every occultist should go through at some point in their journey, is an absolute alignment of their body to the outside heavens. Period. Flat out. Done. Full stop. Why? Because that's the shit that puts them in direct relationship with out there. They can trust the energy that flows through them when they feel it. They can get their body in all the rhythms, in all the right ways. Right?
And everybody should. I mean, like, when I didn't just decide to, let's do this rite of transformation. Like, you can ask Brian, this was leading up to, I went and decoded my whole self and, like, studied my whole self and, like, before I even did the rite of transformation. So for me, it means a lot more. You know what I mean? Like, the depths of what I'm doing and the gates that I'm opening and the energies I'm working with, they all mean something. And as so it should in your practice as well, if you calculate it and do it correctly.
Right. And that's the thing I love about it, is it with the work that I've got in these notebooks, because when I did the rite the first time, it was like, Jesus, take the wheel moment, right? Like, it's just, I'm going to do this magic. I'm going to see where it leads. Boom, off and off to the races. With the technology that exists today, with the resources that exist today in this day and age, it's allowed Mike to go through and decode himself, to find all the things that he needs to in order to decode. Without that existence of that technology, this level of conversation would not be possible, right? And the only thing that's compelling you to go do that is your desire for inner illumination. It is your spark, your inner light trying to come out, right? And connect with the great world that is. And so this is the information they hide from you, folks.
It is. It is, guys. It is. Like, after, and it don't even stop at this rite of transformation, because once I'm done with the rite of transformation, I'll take all the information and study, the research that I have now, and I'll go get a 23andMe test done. That way I can look back through my ancestors and find out why I'm so good at magic. You know, like who came before me that was involved in magic. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'll get even more answers.
Right. You know, and that becomes the foundation, right? It's funny. There's certain words that we say when we have certain meaning behind them. The audio goes batshit.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. I get up in my feels when I say it, like the audio just goes, yeah, like gotta watch that energy level, folks. Gotta watch that energy level. Like too much. But yeah, this is the life, man. Like this is how it starts. And what's really, really about to kick off some fun shit that most folks aren't going to be ready for, right? Is there is the opportunity that we can take that not only can we do just the single pentacle of the moon, Venus, all of those things like the Simon book does, like that's the start, right? I might come up with over the next few days those talismans for each of the 7 planets, but for all the different ones that they have in the books of Solomon. Like, let's go down that rabbit hole. Let's do the 7x7 of the 7 days. Like, fucking nuts, right?
Okay, man.
Like, that's just an abject connection to all the things. It's like, where's your consciousness now, bitch? Is it in your body or is it out there? Who knows? Who knows? Right? And it's using the body as a vessel to connect with each of those different states of divergences. So when you have those talismans, when you have those energy points made, and you're able to connect with these energies, it is the foundation through which you can focus, kind of like a lock through a key. So the talisman allows you to focus those outputs. So if you need a lock opened, you can like, that talisman, that position, your hand, that thing there, you say the thing, the release. Like, you can do that, right? There was one chat room I was in for the study of the folk magic and the grimoires where people were talking about the success that they got with those talismans. And one guy made the talisman and held it up against the thing, said the thing, and he broke the lock mechanism inside the door and they had to take the fucking door off. It's like, great, you broke the lock. Like, door gone. Like,
right, man. Sternocleidosis.
So knowing the talismans, knowing the symbols, knowing the shapes, knowing the positions, it's like the Harry Potter concept of them trying to aim the wand in the right direction. And it's like, yeah, okay, so what happens if we start doing that for real? What happens if we start tracking these alignments, right? What happens if I find someone who's willing to go through and blend their version of martial arts, and I put one of these wands that were getting made into their hand, and I line them up at the specific angles and get them to chant the chant as a certain way, and if they feel more of the oomph in that direction, then that's a direction that gets recorded, not just because it's a yoga, a physical action that you take, but because it has a meaning to an energy that connects when a certain thing is said, right? It becomes the proof of the yoga discipline, right? It allows the individual to create their own version of it and then go back to the traditions and see the ways that it's been done before and to see what they're doing similar to it. So as they create that individualized expression of the oneness, they can see the collective expression of the oneness, and everybody gets to work together. It's like, what are you doing that's like your brother? What are you doing that's like your sister? What are you doing that's like your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, all of those things? What are their versions of the books or their creations that are going to benefit you in the relationship to the thing that you're working on? So that if you need to be aiming at the east and you need to have your tiptoe pointed down in an outward position and you're like you're doing the thing, right? You can. But if you're just sitting there and you have the talisman and you're meditating on the energy, or if you're making a potion and you're getting these just entrainments of energy. Like there's a new energy flowing through you as a result of you making that potion yesterday. It's like when certain hours hit, when I put that ingredient in, my consciousness, it was downloading new information. I was realigning my body to who I am, or who I should be, or who I think I am, as a result of the union between all of the things that go into making me who I am. Right? Who cares? The history, it's spotty at best. Right? We move forward. What are we doing now? What are we doing next?
Magic.
Right? And as you transform yourself, it really is the separation, right? Like this is why when you pick up the grimoire, or when people buy that book, it's not like normal magic books. It will find the people that it wants to find on its own, right? Like you found a path to it, to this, to these energies, right? And then as a result of being able to use these energies, you're going to be able to take from those energies and put back into the world using them. And you're going to be able to use the establishment magics in a different, vibrant way, because they're no longer the establishment magic telling you how magic works. It's you matching your divine energy to what the language is of those cultures you want to work with. So if you want to work with a Hermeticist, you can speak Hermetic speech to them and you can still make magic work. If you want to speak to Wiccans, well, they don't make their magic work usually. They don't. That's a mess. But you speak to the traditional magicians, or you speak to somebody who knows what the shit they're doing, they're able to do it, right? In the same way that you've got magicians like and occultists that seek the hidden wisdom and seek to put the hidden wisdom into the day-to-day practice, like Pedro, like Russell, like Pete, like Dean, like Tony, like all these people that are channeling these insights, and they're focused on one very specific thing. Right? Like what's going to get you paid the fastest? Well, that'll be a funnel. Or what's going to be the thing that'll build your community to prove the kingdom principle? That'll be a challenge. Or what's going to be the thing that's going to prove the relationship to the community and prove your litany of everything? Well, that'll be writing a book, right? What's going to be the thing that's going to prove you're developed as an individual? Well, that's going to be your personal development, right? Well, how are you going to organize all your inner thoughts? Well, that'll be your mentalism. How all this shit flows through you, however you stack your personality and your growth pattern moving forward, it's all the things we're doing. It's everything you're doing now. This is the thing. Like this is, you fuck around with that book, we're going to leave the normal world behind. Like you can kiss your day-to-day life fucking goodbye. Like it's over. Like it's a wrap. Like there will be a change in you. You just got to go all for it, because if you don't, it'll fuck you up, right? Like you can get distracted by the bullshit of the separation, or you could have been distracted by the bullshit you're going through because that motherfucker put his hand through your TV, right? Fuck him. You could have cursed him. You didn't. Well, you may have, but you didn't. It might have been those nudges to justice that got his ass in the comeuppance department, like whatever. But you're moving past it, right? Like, and there's the connection to those underground networks. There's connections to those ways that people are getting you to do those next levels of development where you can find them, right? Like getting those conversations started, giving relevancy to those conversations. If you've been reaching out to the UN, to the White House, to the local district, you've been trying to get this information out there, right?
Yeah.
And there's traction that's happening, but it's slow. You know, development takes time. It takes process. It's a growth period. But yeah, this magic will fuck you up if you're not ready for it. I told you. It's like this is a path. This is a rabbit hole that few want to go on together for a long period, right? Like it's generally in these periods of understanding in the similar kind of way, like a chaplain's only there for like a couple of weeks and they're there for the crisis and they fuck off, right? like a sorcerer is there to do the magic and do the thing, and then when the spell is over, they go and do that spell or do that thing elsewhere, right? And so as you're going through this process, you're getting the understanding of when people go through the magic that you create, right? You're understanding the life changes that occur when they get that spell result. You're understanding it on an intrinsic level, that it is a reverence. There is a reason for an outer gateway. Like outer courtship versus inner courtship.
Hello?
Yeah. So it's just,
All right.
is that all right?
Yeah, phone call.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But what's your next steps? Like what are you looking forward to most about getting through all of this shit?
Writing my book. A lot of stuff that I went through, like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But all that prepared me for who I am today. So I can't.
I mean, it's like the tarot cards themselves. You're transforming. Like this is a transformation. It's not easy. This is why it's a sacred process. This is why it's got to be handled with gloves that are delicate. You know, this isn't a like the folks over the past few months, like Daniel, who did this thing, and he's young enough to where he can just take the energy and run with it, right? But to sit with it, to go through it, to be there, and to learn it, you're gonna have to learn it at some point. Like with Peyton when he fucked off, we did the rite of transformation. That was that transference via the digital energies, right? I was able to do his alignment within about 4 hours. He's gone, man. I don't know what happened to him. Like his world broke and he's off.
I haven't heard. I haven't even seen anything on Facebook from him for like weeks, man.
Yeah. But you know, it's like this energy, it catalyzes something new inside you. It creates something that's different. You know, it's the 7 days leading up to it. The 7 days of this process is the distillation. There it goes again. Of all of this stuff. This, it's yeah, it's hard to talk about.
Really.
Like it's not an easy process. Like you're not a happy camper. Like it's not the same energy today as it was going into that spell. Like it is a transformation. There is a severity. And it's how you move with it, how you use the knowledge moving forward and feeling it and seeing it and learning and embracing the trust of your feelings. Like it's sad, it's heartbreaking. You know? It's like how do we cultivate these new and next levels of connection so that joy is reintroduced to these things. So light can come to these energies so that you don't think about this time into life as the worst time of your experience, but as the catalyst for something even better, like the great destruction of the world you knew. Yeah, boom, revelations. Your world is destroyed. Great. Now you have to Genesis it. Like, what can you do to rebuild your world in 7 days? Like, what's your darkness? What's your light? Let's go through it. Like, let's Genesis your life. Like, this is where you get that energy. This is where you get to do that magic from. Like, you want to be a creator god. This is what's your Genesis. What's the new narrative? What's the thing that you want to capitalize on? And what? Not who's it going to help, not how, but like that what principle.
We'll see.
Yeah. But anyway, the day after spellcraft is always a bit heavy. So I thank everybody who's joined us today. I appreciate y'all for coming on. I appreciate Mike for your time. Thank you.